Obiri stood at the window of his air-conditioned Range Rover, stuck in Lagos traffic under the afternoon sun. His driver had taken a shortcut through Oshodi, trying to beat the gridlock on the expressway. The heat outside pressed against the tinted glass like something alive. Hawkers moved between the cars, selling everything from phone chargers to roasted plantain. Then Obiri saw him. An old man bent low under the weight of a basin filled with plastic sachets of water. His shirt hung loose on his thin frame, stained dark with sweat. He shuffled between cars with careful steps, calling out in a hoarse voice, "Pure water, cold pure water." Obiri's hand stopped halfway to his phone. The old man turned slightly, wiping his forehead with the back of his hand. Obiri saw his face clearly now, the sunken cheeks, the gray beard. On the familiar slope of his shoulders, it was Danso, his father. Obiri's throat closed. He couldn't breathe. His father didn't look up, didn't see the Range Rover or the sun inside it. Danso just moved to the next car, lifting the heavy basin higher, his arms trembling. "Sir, are you all right?" his driver asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. Obiri couldn't answer. He watched his father sell 2 sachets to a woman in a taxi, watched him count the crumpled Naira notes with shaking fingers, watched him smile weakly at the customer before turning back into the sun. The traffic began to move. "Stop the car," Obiri said. "Sir?" "I said stop the car." The driver braked hard. Horns blared behind them. Obiri pushed open the door and stepped into the heat. His Italian leather shoes hit the dusty road. Around him, people stared. At a man in an expensive suit climbing out of a luxury SUV in the middle of Oshodi traffic. Danso was 3 cars ahead now, moving away. "Papa!" Obiri's voice cracked. The old man didn't hear. The noise of the market, the buses, the generators, it all swallowed the word. Obiri walked faster, pushing past a woman carrying a tray of oranges. "Papa, Danso!" The old man stopped. He turned slowly, squinting against the sun. When he saw Obiri, his face went blank. The basin slipped from his hands and hit the ground. Water sachets scattered across the road. They stood facing each other in the middle of the street. "Obiri?" Danso's voice was barely a whisper. Obiri wanted to run to him, wanted to pick up the basin, wanted to ask why, how, when, but his legs wouldn't move. He just stood there, staring at the father he hadn't seen in 12 years. "What are you doing here?" Obiri finally managed. Danso bent down slowly, gathering the scattered sachets. His hand shook worse now. "I'm working," he said quietly, "same as everyone else." "Working?" Obiri's voice rose. "You're 80 years old." 82, Danso corrected, not looking up. A bus honked. Someone shouted at them to move. The traffic was building up again. Obiri's driver had pulled to the side, hazard lights flashing. Obiri crouched down, helping his father pick up the water sachets. Some had burst. The water made dark patches in the dust. "Where are you living?" he asked. Danso put the sachets back in the basin. "That doesn't matter." "It matters to me. Does it?" Danso looked at him then. His eyes were still sharp despite his age. 12 years, Obiri. 12 years and now you ask where I live?" The words hit like a slap. Obiri stood up, holding half the water sachets. "I sent money. Every month I sent money to the account." "What account?" "The bank account, the one I opened for you when I left for America." Danso shook his head slowly. "I never got any money." Obiri felt the ground tilt under him. "That's impossible. I've been sending 200,000 naira every month for 10 years. "Then someone else has been collecting it," Danso said, "because I've been selling pure water for 3 years just to eat." A crowd was forming now. People always gathered when there was drama. A young man with a phone was filming. Obiri didn't care. "Who else had access to the account?" Obiri asked. Danso picked up his basin. The effort made him grunt with pain. "Your brother. Kwesi. He said he would help me with the bank things since I can't read well. Kwesi, Obiri's younger brother. Come with me, Obiri said, reaching for the basin. Danso pulled back. I have to work. You're not working anymore, not like this. Obiri grabbed the basin despite his father's protest. The weight surprised him. How did an old man carry this all day? Let me go, Obiri. Danso's voice hardened. You left. You built your life. You don't get to come back now and play the good son. I'm not playing anything. You're my father. Then where were you? Danso's voice broke. Where were you when your mother died? Where were you when the house started falling apart? Where were you when I got sick and spent 2 weeks in a government hospital with no one to visit me? Each question was a knife. Obiri had no answers that would satisfy. He'd been in America, building his business, making his first million, then his first billion. He'd sent money. He'd thought that was enough. I'm here now, Obiri said. 12 years too late. The crowd murmured. Someone said, That's his son, the one with the car? Another voice added, Rich people don't care about their parents. Obiri felt shame burn through him, but he held onto the basin. Please, Papa, let me take you somewhere. Let me buy you lunch. Let us talk. Danso looked at him for a long moment. Then he looked at the basin of water, then at the sun overhead. Finally, he nodded, just once. Obiri helped his father into the Range Rover. The leather seat seemed to swallow the old man's thin frame. Danso sat stiffly, not touching anything, his hands folded in his lap. Where to, sir? The driver asked. Find a restaurant, something good. Obiri paused. No, find a clinic first, a good private clinic. I don't need a clinic, Danso said. When was the last time you saw a doctor? Danso didn't answer. They drove in silence through Lagos streets. The traffic had eased slightly. Through the window, Obiri watched the city he'd left behind. Nothing had changed. Everything had changed. The same chaos, the same struggle, but now he was on the other side of the glass. How is Kwesi? Obiri asked. You don't know? We don't talk much. Danso made a sound that might have been a laugh. Brothers who don't talk, a son who doesn't call. What family is this? I called. In the beginning, I called every week. No one answered. The phone broke, Danso said. Kwesi said he would fix it. He never did. And the money I sent? Danso stared out the window. Kwesi brought me small amounts sometimes, 5,000 here, 10,000 there. He said that was all you sent. He said you were struggling in America, that your business was failing. Obiri's jaw clenched. 200,000 naira every month for 10 years. That was over 20 million naira, and Kwesi had been giving their father scraps while keeping the rest. Where is Kwesi now? Obiri asked. He has a house in Lekki. Big house. He says he's a businessman now. Lekki, one of the most expensive areas in Lagos, built on stolen money from his own father. The driver pulled into a private medical clinic in Victoria Island. The building was white and clean, with air conditioning that hummed softly. A nurse in a crisp uniform greeted them at the door. Mom, my father needs a full checkup, Obiri said. Danso started to protest, but Obiri placed a hand on his shoulder. Please, Papa. The nurse led them to a consulting room. A young doctor arrived within minutes, smiling professionally. Good afternoon. What seems to be the problem? I want him examined, Obiri said. Everything. Blood tests, heart check, everything. The doctor nodded and began asking Danso questions. When was his last meal? Any pain? Any medication? Danso answered in quiet monosyllables, clearly uncomfortable. The examination took an hour. Blood was drawn, blood pressure measured, heart listened to, weight recorded. Obiri waited in the reception area, his mind spinning. 12 years. How had 12 years passed so quickly? He'd left Nigeria right after university, got a scholarship to study business in America. I told himself he'd come back after he made something of himself, after he had enough money to really help his family. But 1 year became two 2 became 5. His tech startup took off. Money poured in. He told himself he was helping by sending money every month. That was better than being there, wasn't it? Money solved problems. Except his father had never seen the money. The doctor emerged, holding a file. "Your father is severely malnourished," she said. "His blood pressure is dangerously high. He's anemic. He has early signs of kidney problems, likely from dehydration and poor diet." Obiri felt sick. Will he be okay? With proper care, medication, and nutrition, yes. But he needs to stop any strenuous activity immediately. His body is under extreme stress. "He won't be working anymore," Obiri said firmly. The doctor handed him a prescription. "He'll need these medications daily, and please make sure he eats regular, nutritious meals. His body is running on nothing." When Danso came out, he looked tired. The nurse gave him a bottle of water and some crackers. He drank slowly, like someone who'd forgotten how to trust his own thirst. "Let's get food," Obiri said. They went to a restaurant nearby. Nothing too fancy. Obiri sensed his father would be uncomfortable. A quiet place with good jollof rice and grilled fish. Danso ate slowly, carefully, like the food might disappear if he moved too fast. Obiri watched him, this man who used to be so strong, so loud. His father had been a carpenter back when Obiri was young, built furniture with his hands, sang while he worked. Now he could barely lift a fork without his hand shaking. Tell me what happened," Obiri said gently. "After I left, tell me everything." Danso chewed his rice for a long time before answering. "Your mother got sick 2 years after you left. Cancer. We didn't know until it was too late." Obiri's stomach dropped. "I didn't know. I called you many times. You never answered. I changed my number when I moved to California. I sent the new one in a letter. We never got a letter." Another piece falling into place. Had Kwesi intercepted that too? "Your mother died 3 months after the diagnosis," Danso continued. His voice was flat now, like he'd told the story too many times in his head. "The hospital bills took everything. The house, the workshop, all my tools. I sold it all. Kwesi helped me, or I thought he was helping. He said he would manage the money, make sure it lasted. But he didn't. I lived with him for a year, in his boys' quarters behind his big house. Then one day he said I needed to start contributing, that he couldn't support me forever." Danso's hand trembled as he reached for his water. "I tried to find work, but who hires an old man? So I started selling pure water. A woman I met at the market loaned me money to start. I pay her back a little each day." Obiri couldn't speak. His throat had closed completely. "Kwesi told me you never called," Danso said. "That you'd forgotten us, built a new life, and didn't want your old family embarrassing you." "That's a lie," Obiri said, his voice rough. "I called, I wrote. I sent money every single month. I thought you were receiving it. I thought you were okay." Danso looked at him, really looked at him. You really didn't know." "I swear on Mama's grave I didn't know." For the first time, something softened in his father's face. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. "I need to talk to Kwesi," Obiri said. "He won't admit anything." "I don't need him to admit it. The bank records will show everything." Danso pushed his plate away. He'd only eaten half. "What will you do?" "I don't know yet," Obiri said honestly. "But first I'm going to find you a proper place to live, and you're going to rest. No more selling water, no more carrying heavy things, no more working at all. I can't just sit and do nothing." "Why not? You worked your whole life. You raised 2 sons. You took care of Mama. You deserve rest." Danso's eyes filled with tears. He looked away quickly, wiping them with his napkin. "I thought you'd forgotten me," he whispered. "Never," Obiri said. "Not once. Every day I thought about you and Mama. Every success I had, I wanted to share it with you. I thought money was enough. I thought if I sent enough money, everything would be fine. Money doesn't replace a son." The words settled between them. true and heavy. I know that now, Obiri said. They sat in silence for a while. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversations, the clink of plates, the soft music from overhead speakers, normal sounds of normal life. But nothing felt normal anymore. Where have you been living? Obiri asked. I rent a room in Mushin. One room, shared bathroom. The landlord is kind enough, doesn't raise the rent too much. Mushin, one of the roughest neighborhoods in Lagos. Pack your things, Obiri said. Today. You're not going back there. Where will I go? With me, I have a house in Ikoyi, 5 bedrooms, just me and my driver living there, more than enough space. Danso shook his head. I can't impose. You're not imposing. You're my father. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's family. Danso looked down at his hands, carpenter's hands worn smooth by years of work and worry. I don't know, Obiri. So much time has passed. We're strangers now. Then let's stop being strangers, Obiri said. Please, Papa. Let me do this. Let me try to fix what I broke. You didn't break anything. Life just happened. Kwesi broke something, and I let it happen by being absent. But I'm here now, and I want to make things right. Danso was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. Okay, but just for a little while. Until I figure out what to do next. Obiri knew his father's pride, knew that a little while meant Danso was already planning his exit, but it was a start. They drove to Mushin. The neighborhood shocked Obiri even though he'd grown up in Lagos. Narrow streets filled with potholes, buildings crowded so close together the sun barely reached the ground, open gutters running with gray water, children playing in the dirt, the smell of smoke and garbage and too many people living too close. Danso's room was in a compound with 15 other families. They shared one bathroom, one kitchen. His father's space was barely bigger than a storage closet. A thin mattress on the floor, one plastic chair, a small shelf with a few clothes, a framed photo of Obiri's mother, the glass cracked. Obiri stood in the doorway, unable to enter. See, this was where his father lived, while Obiri slept in a king-size bed in a house with a pool. It's not much, Danso said quietly. Papa, Obiri's voice broke. I kept it clean at least. That's something. Obiri helped his father pack. It took 10 minutes. Everything Danso owned fit into one old suitcase and 2 plastic bags. Clothes that had been worn thin, a few books, the photo of Mama, a small wooden box that Danso held carefully. What's in the box? Obiri asked. Danso opened it. Inside were letters, dozens of them, addressed to Obiri in his father's careful handwriting. All stamped, all sealed, none of them sent. I wrote to you, Danso said. Every month for years, but I didn't have your address. Kwesi said he would send them. He never did. Obiri picked up one of the letters. The paper was yellowed with age. He opened it carefully. His father's words, written 5 years ago, talking about the weather, about a neighbor's wedding, about missing him, about hoping he was well. Simple things, father things. Obiri opened another letter, then another. Each one a window into the life he'd missed. His father's loneliness written in blue ink on cheap paper. I'm sorry, Obiri said. Papa, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. I should have tried harder, should have come back to visit, should have. We can't live in should-haves, Danso said gently. We can only live in what happens next. They loaded the suitcase and bags into the Range Rover. Danso's neighbors came out to watch. An old woman called out, Danso, where are you going? With my son, Danso said, and there was something in his voice. Not quite pride, but maybe the memory of it. As they drove away, Obiri looked back at the compound, at the life his father had been living. He wanted to be angry, but anger felt too simple. What he felt was more complicated. Shame and grief and determination all mixed together. We need to stop by the bank, Obiri said. Now? I need to see the records, need to know exactly what happened with the money. They went to the bank where Obiri had opened the account 12 years ago. A different branch now, shiny and modern. The manager, a woman named Amma, greeted them professionally until she saw the name on Obiri's business card. Her eyes widened. "Mr. Obiri, the tech entrepreneur?" "Yes, I need to see records for an account I opened in 2013. He gave her his father's account number. Amma typed quickly on her computer. Her expression shifted from professional to confused to concerned. "Sir, this account has been very active, regular deposits and withdrawals." "Show me." She printed out the statements. 12 years of transactions in a thick stack of papers. Obiri spread them across her desk. There, his deposits. 200,000 naira, every month like clockwork, never missed once. And there, the withdrawals, always within a week of his deposit, always the full amount minus a few thousand naira, always at the same branch, always with the same authorization signature, Kwesi's signature. "This man," Obiri pointed to the signature, "he's not the account holder. How was he able to withdraw the money?" Amma checked the records. "He's listed as a joint account holder, added in 2013, just 3 months after the account was opened. It says here the account holder requested it in person." Obiri looked at his father. "Did you go to the bank with Kwesi?" Danso nodded slowly. "He said it was just paperwork, that he needed to be able to help me if something happened. I trusted him." Kwesi had stolen over 20 million naira from their father for 12 years. "I want this account frozen," Obiri said, "immediately, and I want to press charges." "Sir, if you want to press charges, you'll need to report this to the police." "Then I'll report it, today." Amma nodded. "I'll need the account holder's authorization to freeze the account." Danso signed the papers with a shaking hand. "Is there anything else?" Amma asked. "Open a new account, in my father's name only, no joint holders. I'll deposit funds today." Obiri transferred 5 million naira into the new account right there. His father sat silently, watching the numbers appear on the screen. "This is too much," Danso said. "It's not enough. Not for 12 years of stolen money, not for 3 years of selling water in the sun, not for anything." Obiri signed the last paper, but it's a start. They left the bank. Danso was quiet, processing everything. Obiri's phone buzzed, a message from his assistant in America, a problem with a client. He ignored it. "What now?" Danso asked. "Now we go home, your new home, and tomorrow we deal with Kwesi." "He's still your brother." "He stopped being my brother when he stole from our father." They drove to Ikoyi as the sun began to set. The house was a modern mansion, all glass and white stone. A far cry from the family home in Mushin where Obiri had grown up. The gate opened automatically. The compound was quiet, beautifully landscaped. Danso stared at everything like he'd entered a different world. "This is where you live?" he asked. "Yes, and now you live here too." Obiri showed his father to a guest room. It had its own bathroom, a large bed with soft sheets, air conditioning, a television. Danso stood in the middle of the room, turning slowly. "I'll get lost in here," he said. "You'll get used to it." Obiri placed his father's suitcase on the bed. "Rest. I'll have dinner brought up." "I can eat downstairs." "Only if you want to. There's no pressure. This is your home now. You can do whatever feels comfortable." Danso sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress sank under him, soft and welcoming. He ran his hand over the sheets. "I haven't slept on a bed this nice in 10 years. Then sleep well tonight. We have a lot to deal with tomorrow." Obiri left his father to rest. Downstairs, he called his lawyer, explained everything, the stolen money, the bank records, the forged authorizations. "This is a clear case of fraud and embezzlement," his lawyer said. "But he's your brother. Are you sure you want to pursue this?" "He's not my brother anymore," Obiri said. "He's a thief who stole from an old man, from his own father. Yes, I'm sure. I'll prepare the documents. We can file tomorrow." Obiri hung up and sat in his living room, staring at nothing. The house felt too big, too empty. He'd bought it 2 years ago when he expanded his business to Nigeria, thought it would be a symbol of his success. But tonight, it just felt like a reminder of everything he'd missed. His phone buzzed again, his assistant. He answered this time. "Sir, the client is threatening to pull the contract if we don't respond tonight." "Handle it," Obiri said. "But you always handle the major clients personally." "Not tonight. You handle it. That's why I pay you." He hung up before she could respond. For 12 years, he'd prioritized business, deals and contracts and profit margins. He'd told himself it was for his family, that making money was how he honored his parents. But his mother had died without him there, and his father had suffered alone. What was the point of billions if the people you loved were suffering? Obiri went back upstairs, knocked softly on his father's door. No answer. He opened it carefully. Danso was asleep on top of the covers, still in his street clothes. His breathing was heavy, exhausted. Obiri grabbed a blanket from the closet and draped it over his father. In sleep, Danso looked older than 82, looked like a man who'd carried too much for too long. "I'm sorry, Papa," Obiri whispered. "I'm sorry I wasn't there." He left the room and went to his own bedroom, but he couldn't sleep. He lay awake all night thinking about pure water sachets and bank statements and 12 years of unanswered letters. Morning came slowly. Obiri was up before the sun, sitting in his study, reviewing the bank records again, making sure he understood everything before confronting Kwesi. Danso appeared in the doorway around 7. He'd showered and changed into fresh clothes, looked better already, though still fragile. "Did you sleep?" Danso asked. "Not much. You?" "Best sleep I've had in years." Danso sat down. "What's the plan?" "We go see Kwesi, together. I want him to look you in the eye and explain himself. He won't come willingly. Then we go to him." After breakfast, they drove to Lekki. Kwesi's house was easy to find. A massive compound with high walls, security cameras, a 3-story building visible beyond the gate, built with stolen money. Obiri pressed the intercom. A security guard's voice crackled through. "Who is it?" "Tell Kwesi his brother is here." A long pause. Then, "He's not expecting anyone." "He'll want to see me. Tell him Obiri is here." Another pause. Then the gate buzzed open. The compound was obscene. Fountain in the driveway. Imported cars parked in a row. Marble everywhere. Kwesi appeared on the front steps, grinning wide. "Nay, big brother," he called out. "I heard you were in Lagos. Why didn't you call?" Kwesi was younger by 4 years, 40 now. He'd put on weight since Obiri last saw him. Expensive watch, designer clothes, the kind of wealth that screamed new money. Then Kwesi saw Danso getting out of the car. His smile flickered. "Papa, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," Obiri said, his voice cold. Kwesi's eyes darted between them. "About what?" "Inside, now." They went into a living room that looked like a furniture showroom. Everything too perfect, too coordinated. Kwesi offered drinks. Obiri waved him off. "Sit down," Obiri said. "What's this about?" "The money, all of it." Kwesi's face went carefully blank. "What money?" "Don't," Obiri warned. "Don't insult me by pretending you don't know. The bank gave me copies of every transaction, every withdrawal, all with your signature." Silence. Kwesi sat down slowly. "I was going to tell you," he started. "Tell me what? That you've been stealing from Papa for 12 years? "It wasn't stealing. Papa couldn't manage the money himself. I was helping." "Helping?" Danso's voice cut through the room. "You gave me scraps while you built this?" He gestured at the mansion. "You let me sell water in the sun while you drove imported cars?" Kwesi looked at the floor. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. At first I just borrowed a little, for an investment. I was going to pay it back." "But you didn't," Obiri said. The investment failed. I needed more money to fix it. Then more. It spiraled. So you kept taking from your own father, for 12 years. I gave him money sometimes. 5,000 naira while you took 200,000? Obiri's voice rose. You let him think I'd abandoned him, let him believe I didn't care. Do you know what that did to him? Kwesi finally looked up. There were tears in his eyes, but Obiri felt no sympathy. I'm sorry, Kwesi said. I'm so sorry, Papa. I didn't know what else to do. I was in too deep. You could have told the truth, Danso said quietly. Any time in 12 years, you could have told the truth. I was ashamed. Now you get to be ashamed in court, Obiri said. My lawyer is filing charges today. Fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse, all of it. Kwesi's face went white. You can't. I'm your brother. You stopped being my brother when you chose money over family. Please, Obiri, I'll pay it back. Every naira. I'll sell the house, the cars, everything. Just don't send me to prison. How will you pay it back? 20 million naira plus 12 years of interest. You don't have that kind of money. I do. The house alone is worth 40 million. And I have investments. Built on stolen money. Kwesi turned to Danso, desperate now. Papa, please. Tell him not to do this. I'm your son, too. Danso looked at his younger son for a long moment. When your mother was dying, where were you? I was working. You were spending her hospital money on your girlfriend. I found the receipts, hotel rooms, expensive restaurants, while your mother lay in pain. Obiri hadn't known this. The betrayal went deeper than he'd thought. And when I got sick, Danso continued, when I was in that government hospital with roaches crawling on the floor, you visited once in 2 weeks, stayed for 10 minutes. I had business. You had greed, Danso said, and now you have consequences. Kwesi collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I'll lose everything. Good, Obiri said. You deserve to lose everything. Please, I'll do anything. Just give me a chance to make it right. Obiri looked at his father. Danso's face was unreadable. What do you think, Papa? Obiri asked. Danso was quiet for a long time. Then he said, What would your mother want? The question stopped Obiri cold. Their mother, who had forgiven so much, who had always believed in second chances. She would want justice, Obiri said, but she would also want mercy. Then let there be both, Danso said. Obiri turned back to Kwesi. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell this house and every luxury item you own. Every car, every watch, every piece of jewelry. All of it. Kwesi nodded, still crying. The money will be put into a trust for Papa's care, medical bills, living expenses, everything he needs for the rest of his life. Whatever's left after that goes to charity. Okay, yes, I'll do it. You're also going to get a job, a real job. I don't care where or doing what, and you're going to pay restitution from your salary every month for the rest of your life if necessary. I will, I promise. And if you miss even one payment, if you try to hide assets, if you lie even once more, the criminal charges proceed. No second chances. Do you understand? I understand.
Father, please forgive me. I beg you. I am so sorry for everything.
Say it to Papa. Look him in the eye and say it. Kwesi turned to Danso. Tears and snot streamed down his face. Papa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life making this right. I promise. Danso looked at his younger son. You broke my heart, Kwesi, not because of the money, because you made me believe Obiri had forgotten me. You took away my son with your lies. That's what I can't forgive. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. No, Danso said. You don't. But I'm going to try to forgive you anyway, because I'm your father, and that's what fathers do. But it will take time, a long time. Kwesi nodded, unable to speak. They left him there in his mansion that would soon be someone else's. In the car, Danso was quiet. Did I do the right thing? Obiri asked. Maybe I should have just pressed charges. You did what your mother would have wanted. Danso said. Ah, that's enough. Over the next few weeks, Obiri watched Kwesi dismantle his life of luxury. The house sold quickly, the cars auctioned off, jewelry and watches and designer clothes all gone. Kwesi moved into a small apartment in a middle-class neighborhood and got a job as a sales manager at an electronics store. Every month, like clockwork, he transferred money into the trust fund. And every month he called Danso to apologize. Danso never answered, but he never blocked the number either. Meanwhile, Danso settled into life at Obiri's house, slowly, carefully. He took daily medication for his blood pressure and anemia. He ate 3 meals a day and his weight began to normalize. Color returned to his face. The tremor in his hands lessened, but the biggest change was emotional. Obiri cut back his travel. I managed his business mostly from Lagos. He ate breakfast with his father every morning. They talked about small things at first, the weather, the news, sports, then bigger things. Memories of Mama, stories from when Obiri was young, the workshop where Danso used to build furniture, the way he sang while he worked. Do you still build things? Obiri asked one morning. My hands are too weak now. What if we set up a workshop? Nothing professional, just for fun. You could teach me. Danso looked surprised. You want to learn carpentry? I want to spend time with my father. So they built a workshop in one of the empty rooms. Obiri hired someone to deliver tools and wood, nothing too heavy. Danso moved through the space slowly at first, touching the tools like old friends. A good carpenter, he said, saw measures twice and cuts once. They started with a simple project, a small table. Danso guided Obiri's hands on the saw, showed him how to feel the grain of the wood. Obiri messed up constantly, cut things crooked, sanded too hard, but Danso was patient. You're thinking too much, Danso said. Let the wood tell you what it wants to be. It took them 3 weeks to finish the table. It wobbled slightly and the finish was uneven, but it was theirs. They put it in the living room, this imperfect creation that represented something being rebuilt. It's terrible, Obiri said, laughing. It's beautiful, Danso corrected, because we made it together. That night, Obiri's phone rang. His assistant in America. Another crisis. Another decision only he could make. I'll call you back, he said and hung up. Is everything okay with your business? Danso asked. Yes, no, I don't know. Obiri sat down at their crooked table. I spent 12 years building this company. Danso was quiet for a moment. Then he said, when I was young, I thought success meant having the biggest workshop, making the most money. But you know what I remember now? I remember the afternoon your mother brought you and Kwesi to the workshop. You were maybe 6 years old. I let you hammer a nail into a piece of scrap wood. You were so proud. You carried that wood around for weeks. I remember that, Obiri said softly. That was success. That moment. Not the big contracts or the fancy furniture, just my son, happy, holding something he made with his own hands. I've been measuring success wrong, Obiri said. Most people do, until they get old enough to know better. The next morning, Obiri called his board of directors, told them he was stepping back from day-to-day operations, promoting his COO to CEO. He would remain chairman, provide strategic guidance, but he was done with 16-hour days and constant travel. His board was shocked. His investors were concerned. His competitors were gleeful. Obiri didn't care. He started spending his days differently. Mornings in the workshop with his father, afternoons reading, walking, learning to cook. Evenings talking, really talking. Not just surface conversation, but deep discussions about life, regrets, hopes. Danso told stories about his own father, about growing up in a small village, about choosing to become a carpenter against his parents' wishes, about meeting Obiri's mother at a church social and knowing immediately she was the one. I was 23, Danso said. She was 21. Her father didn't approve, said I was too poor, too uneducated, but she chose me anyway. What made you certain about her? Obiri asked. She laughed at my jokes, even the bad ones. And when I told her about my dreams, she didn't say they were impossible. She asked how she could help. I never heard you laugh, Obiri realized. Not in all the years I was growing up. Not once. I stopped laughing when you left, Danso said quietly. It felt wrong to be happy when my son was so far away. The words hit Obiri hard. I'm sorry. I know you are. And I forgive you. It was the first time Danso had said those words. I forgive you. Obiri felt something break open in his chest. They sat together in silence, father and son, 12 years of distance finally beginning to close. One evening, Danso said, I want to visit your mother's grave. They drove out to the cemetery the next day. It was in a quiet area outside Lagos, away from the noise and chaos. Danso moved slowly between the headstones, using a cane now. The doctor had given it to him after his checkup, said it would help with his balance. They found the grave under a small tree. The headstone was simple, her name, her dates, beloved wife and mother. Danso knelt down, his joints creaking. He pulled some weeds that had grown around the stone, cleaned the face of it with his sleeve. I'm sorry I haven't visited more, he said to the grave. It's far and the buses are expensive, but I think about you every day. Obiri knelt beside his father. I'm sorry I wasn't here, Mama. When you got sick, I'm sorry. She knew you loved her, Danso said. How could she know I wasn't here? Because I told her. Every time she asked about you, I told her you were doing well, making something of yourself. She was proud of you. Even at the end, even when she was in pain, she would smile when I mentioned your name. Obiri couldn't stop the tears. They came fast and hot. 12 years of grief finally finding release. He cried for his mother, for his father, for all the time he'd lost, for all the moments he'd missed. Danso put an arm around him. Let it out, son. Let it all out. They stayed at the grave for an hour, talking to Mama, telling her about the workshop, the crooked table, the reconciliation slowly happening. Danso even laughed once, remembering something funny she used to say. As they left, Danso said, I want to come back next week, and the week after. Can we do that? Every week, Papa, as long as you want. And they did. Every Sunday they visited, brought flowers, cleaned the grave, talked to Mama. Sometimes Kwesi joined them, standing apart, still too ashamed to come close. But he came. That was something. Months passed. Danso grew stronger. The doctors were amazed at his recovery. Whatever you're doing, his primary physician said, keep doing it. He's like a different man. The workshop became their sanctuary. They graduated from simple tables to chairs, then to a bookshelf. Danso's hands remembered skills his mind thought were lost, and Obiri learned. Not just carpentry, but patience, attention, the value of creating something slowly, carefully with love. One afternoon as they worked on a cabinet, Danso said, I need to tell you something. Obiri looked up. What? I'm proud of you. I don't think I ever said that enough when you were young, but I'm proud of the man you've become. Not because of your money or your company, because you came back, because you're here, because you chose this. Obiri had to stop working. His vision blurred with tears. Thank you, Papa. And I need you to know, whatever time I have left, these months with you have been the happiest of my life. Better than any amount of money, better than anything. Don't talk about time running out. I'm 82, son. Time is always running out, but that's okay. I'm ready whenever it comes, because I got this. I got you back. They finished the cabinet together. It was their best work yet. Smooth joints, even finish, doors that hung perfectly. They stood back and admired it. Where should we put it? Obiri asked. In my room, Danso said, so I can look at it and remember what we built together. That evening, Obiri got a call from his former assistant. Sir, I know you're retired from operations, but we have an opportunity, a massive contract, worth hundreds of millions, but they want to meet you personally. They won't work with anyone else. Tell them no, Obiri said. But sir, I said no. That part of my life is over. He hung up and found his father sitting on the back porch watching the sunset. Obiri sat beside him. No regrets? Danso asked. None, Obiri said. This is where I'm supposed to be. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from orange to purple